feel free. Welcome to our April 2nd board meeting virtually. We're all going to learn something new from this. Members of the public wishing to make a comment are invited to do so during the public comment section of the meeting and may call in on 207-582-5346 or send an email to schoolboard@msad11.org. The S in school is capitalized, the B in board is capitalized. So again, if you have a question or a comment, please call 207-582-5346 or email us at schoolboard@msad11.org. In addition to the regular public comment section at the beginning of the board agenda, an additional public comment section has been added at the end of the agenda to provide the school board with the ability to answer questions sent to them during the meeting. Pursuant to subsection 403A of 1 MRSA, Maine Revised Statutes Annotated, we will now confirm that each member of the MSAD 11 School Board can hear and be heard. We will do this by calling the roll. Members present are asked to say yay. We ask all members to listen and report any audio difficulties when the roll is complete. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier Brown,
Yay.
Linda Caputo,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge, Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
John Umland,
Yay.
Tony Veet, Tony, okay. Tony, you might need to unmute yourself just for this. Oh, yay. Okay, thank you. I see it. You're so funny. Kirsten.
Yay.
Hi, Kirsten.
Hi.
And Quentin Martin.
Yay.
Hi, Q. All right. Proceeding on. Administrative staff, would you just say you're here?
Pat Hopkins, superintendent, here.
Andrea Dish, business manager, here.
Karen
How
Moody.
about Angela?
Oh,
You're good. Go ahead.
Karen Moody, building principal, Laura Richards, here.
Angela Hardy, director of curriculum, here.
Chad?
Chad Kempton, high school principal.
Christina,
Christina O'Neill, principal of Pittston Randolph Consolidated.
Alicia,
Alicia Morris, Director of Special Services.
Josh,
Josh Farr, Director of Adult Ed.
Katie,
Katie Gould, principal at Helen Thompson School.
Nate,
Nate Starbert, Athletic Director.
Terry,
Terry McGuire, Director of Technology.
and Vicki.
Vicki Duguay, Principal of Riverview Community School.
Does my heart good to see all your faces. I miss you. Let's see, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Best we can.
As best we can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. right. Public comment for items on the agenda. Has anything come in yet?
I have not seen any.
Oop.
Oh, before you go, did I miss John LaPerriere? Are you there?
Click, click. I am here.
Okay, thank you. Your picture didn't show up, so I didn't see you.
Sorry about that, John.
It's okay.
All right. May I have a motion prioritization and of items, and alteration of the established agenda format sequence as needed. And I see we have
So moved.
one. And we have one addition to the agenda.
An updated agenda was posted yesterday. I
Okay,
do not have any additional changes.
okay. So a motion was made by Jim Lothridge. May I have a second?
I second.
Veronica. All those in favor and
No, you have to call each person.
correct. I was getting to, I was headed there. So we're going to have to call the roll on every item. So I will call your name. All those in favor of approving the agenda minutes as posted. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier Brown,
Yay.
Linda Caputo,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge absent. Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
thank you. Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
John Umland,
Yay.
Tony Veet, Tony, can you type yay or nay? Yay. Okay, thank you. All right, motion carries.
You missed Jim Lothridge. and
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yay.
Jim.
The two student
Thank
reps.
you. Kirsten Weed
Yay.
and Quentin Martin.
Yay.
Thank you. I apologize for any mess-ups here. We're getting used to it. Approval of the agenda, minutes, approval of the agenda. Approval of the minutes of the previous meetings.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes from the previous meetings.
May I have a second?
I second the motion that we accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved by Veronica, seconded by Alyssa. We'll do the roll call again. Becky Fless, yay. Veronica Babcock,
Yay.
Nancy Fortier Brown,
Yay.
Linda Caputo,
Yay.
Matthew Lillibridge, no, Jim Lothridge,
Yay.
Matthew Marshall,
Yay.
Patrick Saucier,
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy,
Yay.
John Umland,
Yay.
Tony Veet, thank you. Kirsten
Yay.
and Q,
Yay.
thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda. Recognition and celebrations, none. Correspondence?
Yes, as written, we have a retirement from Deb Cloutier, a teacher over at the Pittston Randolph Consolidated School. She is going to retire effective the end of this school year. And we have a second retirement from Bree Kittredge, English teacher at the high school. She is retiring effective the end of this school year as well.
Ree's been here a long time. That'll be a hard one. Mm,
Both of them.
mm. All right. Committee reports. Capital Area Technical Center Advisory was no meeting. Curriculum Committee. Maybe Angela, would you mind?
Sure, I'll provide a brief update. We spent time discussing literacy coaching, and Paula Burke from Augusta, who is a literacy coach in that school district, visited the team and talked to us about the role of literacy coaching, and we compared that with the role of mathematics coaching. And then the only other thing that we focused on during that meeting was follow-up from the district management group's final findings, and it allowed the team opportunity to look at the data a little more deeply. No decisions were made from the group.
Great. Thank you. Dropout prevention. John LaPerriere, would you mind?
Yeah, we haven't met since the school closure. Last time we met was in the library at the middle school, and we had a low attendance, but we agreed that we were all conducting SATs, all were monitoring, student attendance, and I think one of the bigger concerns was not just attendance, but tardiness. But nothing in the plan changed.
Okay. Finance Committee, we haven't met since. Don't really have anything to report. We're continuing, I guess, to work on the budget. Our insurance. Do I have?
Becky, all of our budget meetings are finance meetings, and we have minutes for those. So you're right, we did talk about the budget, but I don't mean to interrupt, but our last meeting,
Please.
we also had the vote about the Xerox copiers. So you're right, we've been doing our budget work, and then the board decided to allow us to go to bid for Xerox copiers. But other than that, it's been pretty much budget.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
And at the end of this agenda, Andrea will provide the board with an update on the proposed budget.
Okay, perfect. Great, thank you very much. Policy Committee?
Tony, I don't know if Tony has been able to connect.
I will see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I had to switch microphones and I got to plug in. So actually, I wasn't in attendance at that meeting. So it looks like Matthew Lillibridge and Alyssa Tracy made the motion to move to first reading. So if Alyssa or Pat would want to review that meeting.
I think they were just standard policies that we were reviewing. The law changed regarding public participation at board meetings. As a result, we revisited that particular policy and decided to go with the main school management version. And what that, the significant portion of that is around public comments for items on the agenda. And we're going to have to change that. And it will just be public comments. And it will not be specific to only items on the agenda per the change in the law. Some of the others were just standard changes. We just reviewed them. There were some minor tweaks. The immunization of students, that had to do with a change in the law as well. So we just updated it to reflect the current law.
I concur with Pat's summary. Thank you, Pat.
Okay. So are these, so that first section, do we need to vote on those for the first reading?
We do need a motion.
All right.
Oh, there.
Yeah. Motion to proceed with the first reading documents as listed.
Okay, so hang on.
I'll
Okay,
second that.
so I need to make a separate box for that. Just give me 1 second.
I didn't hear who the second was. It was Alyssa and,
Me, Matt.
oh, hi, Matt.
And Jim has a question.
Yes, Jim.
I was reading over the policy, the policy statements that we got on the internet, on our email. I noticed there was something in that referring to still being able to have philosophical or religious convictions that would allow you to not immunize your students, or did I misunderstand that? Because we just had a referendum at the state level, and that was overwhelmingly disapproved, that they will still have to get their children immunized with or without any philosophical or religious objections. And I thought the way we had left it in our policy that it appeared that that was still being allowed.
It does show, Jim, that it's still allowed because the new law doesn't go into effect yet. So as soon
Okay.
as the new law goes into effect, that will have to be modified again.
Okay. That was the only question I had, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So Becky Flutz, yes. Veronica?
Yes.
Nancy Foyer Brown?
Yes.
Linda Caputo?
Yes.
Matthew, nope, Jim Lothridge?
Yes.
Matthew Marshall?
Yes.
Patrick Saucier?
Yes.
Alyssa Tracy?
Yes.
John Umland?
Yes.
Tony Veet?
Yay.
Okay, Kirsten
Yes.
and Q?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, moving on. Student representatives. It says you have no report, but how are you busying yourselves? Kirsten?
Kirsten, you want to start? Okay.
I mean, we do have quite a, like, I have a good amount of work actually. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not really. It's weird. the process of, I don't know, online school is a lot different than regular school. It has its own challenges. I've been meeting with teachers on Google Meet. I've done it the past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been working well, but it's kind of hard too, because like everything that was kind of going on at the school before doesn't really apply to now. Like we had Lit Fest coming up and stuff, and obviously that's not happening anymore, and the spring sports and stuff. So there's just not that much going on. I feel like people are just kind of doing the best they can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel differently, Quentin.
No, I pretty much feel the same way. I guess there's positives and negatives to everything. Obviously, we're not in a perfect situation. But everyone, as long as people are doing the best they can, that's all that really matters. The only question I had about this whole process is there going to be any sort of plan for SATs? Because that's going to be obviously very important about, especially for me selfishly, worrying about what I'm going to do for college and that sort of thing. But is there like a plan? Are we taking that at all? Is there like a makeup date or something like that, or how are we going about that?
Angela, do you want to answer his question?
So currently, the April SAT date is canceled. All spring assessments that were required have been canceled by the state, and that's been supported by the federal government. So there are other SAT dates available for the future. The challenge is students usually register for those themselves and pay for those themselves, as opposed to the April date where the school takes care of that. So it'll probably be something we're going to want to look at and understand as we get a little further into this process, and try to think about how we can support our students in ensuring that they have an opportunity to take that SAT exam and secure those scores, because I know they're important to a lot of our students.
Thank you.
It's a good
I have
question.
another quick question.
Mhm.
Will there still be, at least like for the high school, will there still be finals if we go back and just have like a month left? Because I know like my teachers have been teaching kind of like they have had to come up with like different, course like assignments and everything. So I don't know if you guys know that.
Mr. Kempton, have you had that conversation with your staff yet?
We've had that conversation. Yes, we haven't made a decision, but it's leaning towards no, that we're not going to have final exams just based on the online format that we're in. The semester grades will continue. We started, I'll go in this later, but we started this week with new teaching and learning, which we're 4 days into it. And so far, I think it's gone pretty well. But there are some items in the future that we're still discussing as to how that's going to unfold. And really the moving target of this, as long as we're going to be closed, and prom was one thing, graduation is one, Q talked about SATs. There's a lot of milestones and big ticket items that are being reconsidered, pushed back, and unfortunately canceled. So we're taking the opening of online schooling first to focus on that. I'm meeting with department chairs every Monday, officially as a group, and then I'm meeting with departments as they meet throughout the week. So those are conversations that we're having. And then I'll be bringing a recommendation to Pat in regards to a few of these things pretty soon here.
Is that helpful, Kirsten?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Anything else from you two? All right then. Ad hoc committees?
None, ma'am.
General information?
Just that right before we closed, we hired Deem Edge as MedTech 2 in the special ed department at the middle school.
Okay. Nominations, none. Old business, none. New business, none. Board chair report. The only thing I wanted to bring up was that I received a memo from Maine School Management. Probably everyone received that.
Yes.
About the MOU, and I just wanted to give kudos to our superintendent, who, when the MEA sent out the MOU last week, really responded well. She contacted our attorney, and then she contacted Dean Hall, who is the representative for the MEA for the teachers, and she contacted
Chad Greenleaf.
Chad Greenleaf. I always forget his name. Chad Greenleaf. And she had a conversation with them, and they went item by item through the MOU that was presented by the MEA, and created a document that both sides. She really worked at the meet and consult, and came to a really great agreement with them. She then forwarded the letter that she wrote for our staff to Maine School Management, and they are using that as an example of great communication. And I just want to give her kudos for that, because without good communication, our climate would, this is a perfect opportunity for climate to go south. And she is working really hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I just want to publicly say thank you for that. A job well done. And we should give her kudos, thumbs up for that, because not everyone is having such great success. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And I was supposed to be in Chicago for this meeting, and I'm not there. So there's nothing else to talk about. So next.
Quentin says that he has one last question. If it's okay, he would like to ask another question.
It's okay with me. Sure.
Sorry, it just came to me as soon as like we started to continue. Obviously before this the whole virus and school being canceled and all that, the turf field was already on hold. Is that just going to be like on hold indefinitely as far as the whole virus goes? That was my only other question.
Is Gabe on with us? So the short answer to that is no, not necessarily. We are continuing to be in conversation. I was actually expecting a call today from Christian. I happened to bump into him well, I didn't really. We kept a 6-foot distance from each other at the grocery store, and were able to catch up just a little bit about what was happening. And it's the plan has gone back and forth between he and Coffin, just Scott Coffin, answering a few more questions that needed to just be worked out. And he was believing that it's gonna go in. Not certain about how the department is approving things right now. It could go quickly or it could go slowly, depending on who's working within the office, working from home, and how that goes. But no, Quentin, I don't believe that it's on hold. I don't believe so. And I'm hoping that these couple of steps are providing more clarity around what we need to do, how much more money we need to raise, how much we can count on our donors, so we can get some real good clarity around that. And I'm working with, I did have a brief conversation with Andrea the other day, just trying to assess how much money was in that account. And so, no, it's not on hold. It is proceeding with caution. Because
Thank you.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Chad has one more thing that he would like to add to his previous response to Quentin. So Chad?
Is this in regards to what I just sent you for a message?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to do is, and this is a bigger decision than just me, but I want to close class rank, at least for the seniors, as of the first semester, simply because this second semester is going to be obviously a little hectic, and pace of curriculum is going to be varied based on classes and teachers and so forth. So I felt like the safe bet would be to close it out as of the first semester. We typically do it halfway through this semester, so it really doesn't change a whole lot. So I think that's a fair thing to do, and we'll talk about doing something similar to that for the rest of the classes, but obviously the priority right now is seniors and graduating. With that, this is probably a great opportunity that we'll talk about. I've talked about it with Pat and with Angela, of looking at phasing out the top 10, keeping the valedictorian, salutatorian, and sticking with our Latin honors program, where people are recognized for their grade point average, regardless of how many are in that category. We've been doing that dual system for the past couple years, and going to be pushing forward with going more to one than the other.
Seems like a good time to try and do that.
So that will be a future conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
Okay, superintendent's report.
So this is really where the meat of the meeting is going to be tonight. We have a lot of updates and thought that we could kick off this conversation in discussing what the school district is doing in terms of remote and distance learning for students. And so Chad is prepared to provide the board with an update on what's happening at the high school. John will provide an update on the work being done at the middle school. And Vicki is going to be the spokesperson for the elementary staff on what's happening there. Alicia will be prepared to talk about any questions on special ed and how we're able to meet the needs of our special ed population and the 504 population. When this is all done, I will be requesting that the board approve our remote learning plan. We are being asked that if we are providing a remote learning plan, for the board to endorse it. We will send that off to the state, and the state will approve our plan based on the fact that you have reviewed it and you have approved it. So that will kind of come at the conclusion. So there'll be lots of opportunities for questions as we move forward. But if you're all set, I would love to have Chad kick us off and give everyone an update on what's happening at the high school.
Yeah, so I shared a document with all the board members, and Kirsten and Q, you got this, the weekly schedule, when I pushed that out to students, I think on the 27th of March. So hopefully I didn't miss any board members. I think I got everybody, as well as Andrea, Pat, and Angela already had it anyway. So I'm going to use that as my platform of just talking through what we're doing. Since the closure, the first couple of weeks we spent doing basically a starter kit of learning that was more enhanced or enhancement learning, and it wasn't something that was counting towards grades. And as we were doing that, we were meeting, I was meeting with department chairs, I was meeting with Alicia, with Pat, with Sarah, and several other staff members, my administrators, and talking about how to get our arms around this and get up and running online. And so major collaborative effort to put this together. And the schedule that you see in front of you was what we came up with and what we're putting into play this week as of Monday. And you'll see we tried to hit all aspects of it, as well as keep what we're doing in a manageable sense, because we know that everyone's life is really kind of turned upside down right now. And this is a completely different mode of teaching and learning for everybody. So Mondays, we felt it was important to check in with advisees at the beginning of the week. And this is something that advisors have flexibility with, whether it is doing a Google Meet with their group or an email or Google Chat. We're using all things Google. Technology is on our side in this situation, and the skills and knowledge of tech folks and several of my staff members are the ones that really have made this happen. So I'm never going to be able to recognize everybody for all their work, because I know I'll miss somebody, but I can tell you that really everybody has stepped up to the plate in a big way to make this happen. So you'll see that. So on Mondays is really that check-in day. We also have a work packet pickup and drop off for students that need to have a paper copy of their assignments. So we have assigned several of our ed techs to this program, and Jackie and Jared are the ones that are really leading that charge. Right now, we have about 80 kids that are getting a paper copy of their assignments. And we've set up an shared Google Doc for departments where teachers will put their assignments into a online folder, and we've dedicated an ed tech to each department, and that ed tech is responsible for photocopying, working with the teachers, and creating packets for the kids that we have identified that need paper copies. So that happens starting Monday morning. The teachers the previous Friday have their work that they're going to give out for the following week into the online folders, the Google folders. Ed techs come in on Monday, they make copies, and then we do a distribution between 2 and 6 p.m. At the high school. And we've worked that through, just made a recent change and really spread people out, because we had a situation where this group was doing this work, and then we had the food distribution really in the same area. So we had too many people in the area. So we've shifted gears, and the food distribution is now down in the math wing and the T wing. And my folks that are doing the photocopying, we're utilizing all 8 photocopiers in the building so that they're truly spread out. They have their own workspace, they have their own laptops, and doing everything digitally and safely as possible. Gabe's crew has been great, or our custodians have been great, cleaning the building and cleaning up after people have come in to use the building. So we're continuing to make sure that the area is sanitized and safe for people to be working and doing the work that they're doing. So big shout out to Jared and Jackie and all of the ed techs that are working on that program. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are what we call our learning days. As you'll see, we've dedicated Tuesdays as O days, Wednesdays as B days, because we do the alternating schedule. And we've got a schedule where classes meet for a window of an hour. They don't have to meet for that entire time. They can meet for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Some have actually gone over that time limit based on discussion and conversation between the teachers and the students. Teachers are doing a combination of live and recorded instruction, and the learning curve here over the last 2 weeks has just been tremendous. We have some very advanced teachers with technology, and we had some teachers that were more so on the rookie side, and the advanced leaders stepped up and did a number of professional development trainings for people to get them onto Google Classroom and Google Sites. Obviously, we've used Google Meet tremendously, and so that effort has been huge. Angela and Deborah Butterfield have a shared folder with staff that has documents and examples of people of how they're using technology to teach online. And it's just been a major shift, transitioning a brick and mortar school to an online school in a matter of about 2 weeks. But it seems to be working well. The reports that I've had so far from teachers, we've had between 70 and 75% participation. More so on the older kids side than on the younger kids side. But you'll see, the B day is essentially the same as the O day. A couple safety nets that we've put into place to make sure that we're not violating what we call is FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education. And this is where Sarah and Alicia came up big and gave me a lot of guidance and a lot of input as to what we needed to do and what needed to be in place so that we would ensure that all kids are getting an appropriate education. So they've been working with Maureen and the special ed case managers to make sure that our kids with IEPs and 504s are getting what they need. And so that is, again, a big thank you to all of those folks for helping us in that sense. But we have a safety net where, one, the advisors are checking in with their kids and making sure that they're able to access the documents, access the work, whether it's in paper or digital. And the case managers are also checking in with their kids and their parents to make sure that they're getting what they need. And then Thursday and Friday are more academic support days. Again, another safety net for our kids. And of course, as Q was talking about, he pulled a double today, and he's not the only one that's doing that, unfortunately. So kids are not always necessarily able to join the live sessions. So teachers are recording shorter versions of their live sessions if they do a live session, so that kids like Q can go back and look and see what happened during that class on a teacher's Google Classroom. And they can also reach out to their teachers at the times. We have an AM session and a PM session for kids to contact their teachers if they need help with an assignment that they're working on during the week. And that seems to be going pretty well. Had a lot of good reports from teachers. I've had some teachers share their classrooms with me so I can see what they're pushing out to their kids and what the work is that they're getting back from kids. And I've also had some teachers share both copies of their instruction, the pre-recorded and post-recorded instruction that they're posting on their sites. And it's really cool to see people that are just jumping on board and doing great work in an environment that they really weren't operating in 2 months ago. And as you see, we just put in there for Saturday and Sunday is to relax and enjoy the day.
Excellent. Board members, do you have questions? Any of you have questions for Chad?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Tony.
Thanks. And maybe for the whole board, are we going to continue this when this ends at some point? Are we going to kind of build on this skill set of developing online content in the future? I know this, I appreciate Mr. Kempton's concept of this being a moving target, because I really feel that.
Yeah. So just, Tony, what our thought is that we're not only going to use this for the short term, but this is also something that we can use long term, potentially next year, if we, rather than having a snow day and shutting down, there is a real potential for us to be able to switch over to an online day and carry on with the work that we would normally be doing without losing a beat. So that is definitely something that is on our radar screen and something that we've been talking about. If we can do it for weeks at a time, we can certainly do it a day at a time if we have a snow day.
That would change the superintendent's message. Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
And it would ease up on the pressure on the
Yes,
superintendent to make that call.
absolutely. Absolutely. She wouldn't have to get up at 4 a.m. and she could do something different at 4 a.m. That'd be great. Jed Lothridge, you had a question?
Yes, I do. For those students that are getting paper worksheets, if they have a question, how are they accessing their teachers? Are they doing it by phone? I'm just assuming they have no access to the internet. How are we handling that?
I have a list of those. Well, there's 80 kids on that list that are receiving paper copies. And I think there's only 5 that are needing to return them by paper. The rest have access to email. And so they're all able to email their teachers with questions either, really at any point during the week. We've dedicated the Thursday and Friday, but for the most part, kids are communicating back and forth with their teachers in one way, shape, or form. One thing that we're doing at the end of this week is that teachers are going to be telling me, identifying any kids that they did not see whether it was in a live session or a student that accessed their Google site or their classroom, or joined in a support session, so that we can follow up and make sure that we're getting everybody and nobody's being left behind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Veronica, you have a question?
Yeah, my question might be more for Alicia. I just want to make sure I understand what I was told today is if new learning is happening for students with IEPs and 504s, then those students' services that were in their IEPs are also being delivered remotely. Is that accurate?
Yes and no. So we need to do our best to provide FAPE. IDEA was not written for virtual learning. So the state, the Department of Education, and the Council for Exceptional Children have both come back and stated that we need to do our best to target learning towards those goals in the IEP, but the services are not going to match. So for a student that was receiving 30 minutes every day of reading instruction may receive 10 minutes twice a week. But that reading instruction that they're receiving 10 minutes twice a week is really targeted towards their goals.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding and other people understood that too.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a great curve for IDEA as well. Maybe time to look at that and update some of those things moving forward. Any other questions? Thank you, Chad and Alicia. Moving on next to John LaPerriere.
Yep, I am going to put up, as I walk you through the middle school's plan, I'm going to present the plan on the screen for you to read through as we go. So give me just a second. I had it going earlier today, and let me see if I can get it going again.
Take your time. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when it worked about 3 hours ago.
Yeah,
And you can't get it to do what you want now.
it's the way.
Can I help you, John, at all?
Oh, there we. Do you have it now? Or no?
No.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Cool. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's coming. Yep.
So when we decided that we were going to stop school for the next 2 weeks to a month, we knew that we had to get the resources out to students, the resources, laptops, and anything the students would need to do remote learning. So I think the middle school worked really hard. The staff did a great job within a day, getting laptops and resources ready for students for pickup. And we did that from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock that Wednesday. And then by the end of the day, I think we had 18 sets of resources left. So we really got the resources out to students. But since that time, that following week, we've been working on food security and getting food out to families. And I think the cafeteria staff, some of our ed tech staff have been doing a great job getting food out to families that need it over the past couple weeks. And our teachers during that time have done a great job with wellness and connectiveness. They're contacting students 3 times a week. On Fridays, staff, and some are spreading it out during the week, are making their bar calls, which are calls the parents that we would ordinarily make on a quarterly basis to check in with parents and have conversations about their students. They've been making those phone calls to parents and just checking in. Some of them have been sending emails because some parents have requested that they send an email to kind of keep them updated instead of a phone call. Um, Around that wellness and connectiveness, Tom and I on Fridays have been calling parents and families to check in to see how students and families are doing. And so that wellness part, I think the staff has done, and the Connective done a great job. Our maintenance staff has done a great job keeping the school sanitized and clean. We have created a schedule for teaching teams so we know when they're coming in the building, even though they still send me an email letting me know they're coming. But they've done a good job staying out of the building unless they really need to come in and get resources for teaching and learning. And Mike and the crew have done a great job keeping the building clean and sanitized. So, with all those things going, we started talking, the leadership team and myself and Tom started talking about what can we do to get remote learning out to students. And so over the past 2 weeks, we've met as a leadership team 2 to 3 times a week, putting together this plan that, and I'll scroll down, this plan that you see, or this, oh boy, here we go again. Okay, this schedule you see before you. And the plan is not to overwhelm students with too much, and at the same time, help parents balance a manageable schedule between family and academics for their students. So the schedule is Monday through Friday. And on Monday, the content offerings on Mondays are going to be always ELA and math. And then the content offerings on Tuesdays and Thursdays are science and social studies. And Allied Arts has Friday. Now, on those days, teachers will be posting on their particular days. They'll be posting direct instruction videos of themselves for the students to access. Now, the reason we decided not to do live teaching is because we know families are struggling with many kids in the house, and some kids are watching their siblings, and we wanted to make this manageable and doable for families and students. So with that, students can access those online videos at any time during the day. However, on Monday and Wednesday, their videos will be posted for ELA and math, and on Thursday and Tuesday and Thursday, science and social studies and allied arts will post their videos on Fridays. Now, in order to support the students, what we decided that we would do is provide 2 hours a day per teacher. And I'll show you what the teacher schedule looks like shortly. Teachers will be there through Google Classroom, through Google Meet, and through email to answer, and through Google, to email and answer any questions students have regarding their academics. We also, students with IEPs and 504s, case managers as well, will have what we call supportive sessions for students to access through those same venues to ask questions to the case managers. And then another layer of that is we have our ed techs that support student learning. They will also be scheduled for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week to support students. So that's how the schedule works for students each day over the next course of the next couple of weeks. We're hoping to start on Wednesday. Now the team schedule, the teams will post on Google Classroom, and we're going to post on the school website. Now this still needs to be adjusted because initially we thought that each teacher would have a supportive session right after they posted the video. So the teachers are going to adjust this, and teams will have a schedule that looks like this so that students can go onto Google Classroom and see when the teacher they need to talk to will be available. And this allows the teachers that have children at home to have the flexibility to set their schedule and meet with kids in between those times that they're supporting their own children's learning at home. So the schedule will look a little bit like, I think this will come up. It's going to look a little bit more like this when we're done. Now, Jeannie Lyserby has done a great job. She is going to push this schedule out to all teams, so the teams will have consistent schedules, so students will know what they're looking for. She's been a great support in this, as has the leadership team and the teachers in general have been supportive. Let me go back to, okay. So that's what the scheduling will look like. Now, I will say to support students with IEPs and 504s, case managers have sent accommodations, spreadsheets with accommodations of students for each teacher so they know what type of accommodations they need to provide for their student learning. One of our teachers, as a matter of fact, when we were discussing that, said, well, can I read the science text online, make a video of reading the science text to support those students, which, you know, they certainly can. That was a great idea. So they're thinking already, now that they've got their accommodations, they're thinking about how we can support our students. Let me scroll. So the expectations for teachers, and let me get down to that. That each school day, content area teachers will post at 9 o'clock their video lesson. The video shouldn't be more than 20 minutes. And then students will have an opportunity for another 45 to 55 minutes to work on that independent work. We have had conversations about, you know, we have to know our students and we have to make sure that the work we're expecting them to do is manageable within that period of time. Because within any given day, a student shouldn't be working more than 2.5 hours on academic instruction and practice throughout the day. And so, as I said, teachers need to keep in mind the amount of time students may require. And different students are going to require different amounts of time. So we need to be mindful of that as we move forward. And as I said, teachers will be providing support sessions for 2 hours a day, allowing them to have that flexibility and be flexible for students, because initially we had scheduled the days that they were teaching content that they would support for 2 hours, and the days they weren't, they were supporting for 1. But once we provided the teachers with the flexibility to create their own schedule, as I was thinking, they really needed to provide that extra hour on the days that they weren't instructing, because you know, if a teacher has to have one of their times at 7 o'clock at night, that may not be doable for a student. So I wanted to make sure that students also had the access they needed. So we're trying to layer the support for students. All assignments and accompanying resources will be designed for everybody to be able to access. We have very few students that need internet access. However, Tom is providing professional development to some of our ed techs tomorrow. He's going to walk them through how to use the Google Drive, how to use Google Docs, how to access the resources. He's created folders by team, and he's created folders within those folders by content area, and teachers know to provide the right material for the right students that are going to be picking up packets on Monday from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Speaking of the ed techs have been assigned by team. So Arcadia and Chamberlain, the case managers for those two teams, the ed techs that support that case manager will be supporting those students. So we broke them out so when we have to put those packets together, they'll be the ones putting the packets together for their students so we can get them out on Mondays. So the ed tech expectation, ed techs 2s and 3s, which I don't know if we have any 3s, will be supporting students with 504s and IEPs. Other ed techs will be working with staff to support students. And the one thing ed techs won't be doing, they won't be instructing, nor will they be grading. They're just supporting students' questions and being helpful during those sessions. One of the important things that we talked about is, we're not in a brick and mortar school, so how do we support students and how do we grade this work? And so the conversation we had is that we would grade with a pass or incomplete. So in Power School, work will be turned in and documented by a flag, whether it's been turned in or it's missing. Work turned in will still be graded on a 100-point scale. This will help, provide that clarity around passing with feedback for students. Students will always have an opportunity to make better the work that they've turned in if they're not happy with the grade that they have. But at the end of the quarter, based on the score in Power School, students will earn a pass or incomplete. Incomplete really translates to students that are missing 30% or more of an assignment in Power School, or averaging below 60. And we anticipate this is a challenging time, so there'll be students that I think there'll be students that have a hard time engaging in this work, but we're going to offer them the opportunity in the fall for anything that they did not complete to get back into the content and complete the relevant assignments. And then student expectation, this will be posted on the letter that goes home to parents. Students will view instructional videos with following through the assignments and tasks. Their schedules will be different. Everything will be posted at 9 o'clock, and at some point they need to engage those videos and work on the content. We're just wanting them to try, do their best. And again, this is a new process. It's new for everybody. I actually, it's a great process because, as Chad mentioned, when we have snow days, I think we'll be ready for it next year, or at least I'm hoping that we will be. But again, we recognize the challenges at home. And to give you an example, I was trying to meet with Pat and Angela and Alicia today. My wife works for a nonprofit, so she was on conferences. My daughter's a teacher. She was having conferences, and I was trying to have conferences at the same time. Didn't have the connectivity, and so I packed up my laptop and came to school today to get the work done. And finally, students will have a week to complete and turn in an assignment. Again, students without the internet at home, they can take pictures of it with their phone and email it to teachers. We are working at a way to, when they pick up, to drop off as well if they can't take a picture of it and send it into the teacher. But as it is right now, we are really have small numbers on students that don't have internet access.
Oh, that's good. Great.
Any questions?
I have one, John. This is Alyssa Tracy.
Yep.
When you were talking about the buckets of 2-hour support services time,
yeah.
Will students sign up for what they need? Will a teacher just bring as many people in as they need at that time? How will that work?
Okay, let me stop presenting.
Sure.
I'm 55. I'm new at technology, so please be
patient. You did
good. Okay.
You're doing great.
What was that question again?
The 2 hours of supported sessions, like around each of the subject matters.
Yeah.
Is the idea that students would sign up for those, or would a teacher like invite them, and there might be more than one student in that support service, or would they do one-on-one or both, or do you not know yet?
Well, we try to layer the supports with ed techs, with teachers, with case managers. And so the teachers, the plan is that teachers they have a choice. They can invite students into a live question and answer session. They also, we discussed, some teachers want to just have questions post on the Google Classroom in an open question answer, and then they will answer those questions through Google Classroom. And some kids are going to email. So it's really they're trying to multitask by looking at their email to support students, going into Google Classroom to support students, and having live sessions during those times.
Great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Other board members, questions?
This is Tony. I had one.
Okay.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and maybe two, but sort of just as a going forward thing, John, you'd mentioned that some students are adapting a little better. Maybe all of us are doing that. Any thoughts about how to support students in the future with, you know, as we go forward, how do we, you know, get them to embrace some of this online stuff?
Well, you know, when we started putting this together, I said to the staff, we have to go slow to go fast. So we've been very thoughtful as we've gone along, and you know, I think teachers are doing a great job at reaching out to students. Um, I had a couple reluctant learners, and parents have called me, and I've spoken to the students on the phone to kind of motivate them, and sometimes it's a matter of providing perspective to the kid, to the students. They just really wanted to know why we're just doing stuff we've already learned at that time, and I, you know, provided the answer that, you know, what the work you're doing now is going to prepare you for when we put out new learning, so that you're still, you know, your mind's still fresh and you're ready to go. And the mom called me back and said he's engaged. However, there will be those kids that we have challenges with, and that's where we work together as a district and as a team to make phone calls, stop in and visit. I know Officer Taylor's done a good job checking in on kids. I will tell you, we have our risk review meetings every Tuesday and Thursday, and that's where we chat about what kind of communications we've had with our most needing children with the most need and support. And so everybody's in, guidance, teachers, ed techs, maintenance staff, kitchen staff, everyone's working together to support this effort.
Other questions, board members?
Hey, Becky, I just have a quick comment.
Sure.
So this is something is, you know, especially for the seniors, but to a certain extent, even the juniors, they're going to see this even at the next level once they go to college. In some instances, they're going to have some remote learning, some online courses potentially. So, I mean, there is a little bit of a silver lining in this whole thing. If one positive that comes out of it, this is probably one of those things, certainly.
Thank you, Matt. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. Other questions or comments? John, thank you. That was really very clear. I appreciate that.
Well, Becky?
Yes.
So you can thank the support of the district staff, Angela, especially today. We worked on this together to kind of pull it together for today.
Well, then, thank you, everyone. That was really very good. Christina, next.
Vicky.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vicky.
Hi, yeah, I'm going to be presenting for the elementary, but just so you know that as an elementary team, we put this all together. So we've worked compiling the information and just kind of putting this presentation together. So I will just kind of go over what we've been doing. First, I really want to thank every staff member in our district. We are just under some extraordinary times. We've been thrust into this with no blueprint to follow, and our staff created that blueprint. They've risen to the challenge, and they've been working side by side to pull this off. And the other thing is, too, I'd like to thank our parents and caregivers. They're doing a fabulous job. I'd like to paraphrase a letter my fifth grade teachers are sending home in the next set of learning packets. And what they've said to the parents and caregivers is we realize that creating a balance between expectations for learning and a balance of work time, downtime, playtime, and family time has been challenging. And we thank you for doing an amazing job. So I think we just need to really recognize that everybody's doing everything we can under this situation. So at the elementary level, this is what we've been doing. We prepared 2 weeks of optional learning packets within 48 hours, and we distributed them to families on March 18th. This is for students to work on from March 23rd to April 3rd, which is tomorrow. And the focus on these learning packets is enrichment and the encouragement of practice of skills already taught. Teachers have been checking in with families at least 3 times a week, pretty much probably 3 times a day. The teachers have been holding Google Meets with their students to check in with them. They've been reading stories out loud. They've been answering questions that students and parents are having. And then they've made phone calls and sent emails to families that they hadn't heard from to check in on these students. And they've been keeping their principals involved in kiddos that they may be a little bit worried about. And Officer Taylor and Officer Quintana have done a great job of helping us just check in, make sure everybody's doing okay. After that distribution of the first set of packets, we learned we were going to be out at least through April vacation. So at the elementary level, we started planning 2 more weeks of learning packets to go home. But prior to these planning of these packets, teachers reached out to our families to see how that first set of packets was received. And from their feedback, they've adjusted their lessons and developed new packets for this week, for this week. And we're going to focus again on enrichment and practice of skills. And the new packets are scheduled to be distributed on Monday from 11 to 6 p.m. Included in these packets are the trimester 2 report cards, because when we shut down on that Monday, we had just finished trimester 2. So we got the report cards ready, and they're going out in the packets. And the packet distribution on Monday is going to coincide with our food pickup. Parents can pick up food from 11 to 1. So those that come for food can get their packets at the same time, but we will continue to pass them out until 6 o'clock at night. So if there's parents that are working, they can swing by after work. The new packets that we're going to be giving out on Monday include lessons from April 6th to the 17th, so right until the start of April vacation. Teachers at the elementary level are also holding spring teacher conferences next week, and they're going to be doing these via phone or video conference based on parent preference. And then when we get to April vacation, we're not going to be doing any learning activities over that week. However, meals for students will still continue to be provided on Monday and Wednesday. So that's a real quick overview of what we have done and will do through April vacation. So if you have questions, let me know or let the elementary team know.
Board members, any questions?
Hey, I have one quick question.
Okay.
I know typically we wouldn't provide lunches or any type of services like that over vacation. Considering everybody, so I mean, we have people still working, right? But how hard would that be to maybe change gears and look at maybe providing something?
We're doing food over April vacation. We're going to do the same thing we are doing now. So the food plan is not changing. We're doing Monday and Wednesday distributions of breakfasts and lunches, so that every student that wants one in the district can have a breakfast and a lunch for 5 days a week. And we're going to do the same thing during April vacation.
Okay, great. But if you said that, I'm sorry, I might have missed it. I apologize.
Yeah, it kind of rolled in with the packets. We're not doing actual learning that week, but we still are going to make sure students are fed that week.
Super. Thank you so much.
Glad that's clear. Jim, you have a question?
Yes, I do. If we have a student, are there any problems with students that cannot come in and get their packets? And if so, how are we getting the information to and from them? Or getting, I understand we're not accepting any of the completed work back, but how are we getting the work to those that either have no transportation or have some difficulty in home conditions?
Yeah, we've been creative. Sometimes there have been other families that have picked up. Angel Hardy has been really instrumental in helping us with this, reaching out to families to see if they can come to central office if they're walking distance. If they're not, Officer Taylor and Quintana have been delivering packets directly to homes. And I know some principals, and I think Angela as well, have delivered some packets so that we can make sure we're getting them out to everybody.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Veronica, you had a comment?
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with the work that you guys have done. Being a teacher myself and part of a different district that's doing things a little differently, I'm just amazed with the work that everybody's doing, all the principals, all the educators, special ed, just everybody. So it makes me proud to be part of the MSAD 11 community. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Veronica just said, that, a big kudos and thank you to all of the teaching staff and the principals and everything, because the only sense of normalcy my daughters have had in the last 2 weeks is when they've been meeting in the group chat with their teachers and their students, their counterparts. So that's the only bit of normalcy they've had, and it's definitely meant a ton to them during that time as well. So just a big kudos and thank you.
That's good to hear, John. I've tried to sit on quite a few of the Google Meets that the teachers have done, and it's been great to hear the kiddos and see the interactions. And I had a fun one yesterday with third grade. They did Stuffy Day where they could show their favorite Stuffy to everyone, and the chatter that went back and forth was rejuvenating to hear and see.
That's really great. I find myself really feeling for our kids who have so much structure every day, from 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon roughly. And their structure is completely taken away right now. So I'm really grateful also for all of our staff, and it looks seamless from the outside, and we're on the inside, sort of. Um, just to see the work that's being done and how seamlessly it seems to happen is just really great. So thank you also to our staff for that. Alyssa says pre-K Zoom is just amazing to watch. I bet that's true. I bet that's true. Thanks, Alyssa. Next.
Alicia, if she has an update on special ed.
Okay, so we have been very busy as far as special ed goes, and making sure that we are providing FAPE to all of our special ed students. We are continuing on at this point with all of our IEP meetings, so annual meetings, triennials, initial IEP meetings, referrals. So we are doing all of those. At this point, though, in time, we're not doing any more testing. We can't do the achievement and psychological and observations in a way that we feel that they're reliable and valid. So at this point, we are delaying those until we are back in school, but we are making sure to have meetings and following all the timelines, just to connect with parents and to let them know that at this point, evaluations will be on hold. Our staff are reaching out to parents. I know all staff are reaching out at least 3 times a week. So what I've said to my special ed students, or special ed teachers, I'm sorry, is that if they are collaborating with the regular ed teachers and the teachers are reaching out 3 times a week, the feedback I've gotten from parents at this point that it's overwhelming. There's a lot going on. So I've suggested for them to at least connect once a week with parents, and give parents some hours and availability that if they need to chat, they would be open to having one-on-one conversations. We are really proud and focusing on the mental health piece of this, because in the end, it's the students' mental health that's really important. All students during this time are probably going to regress a little bit, but the whole nation is in the same boat. So making sure that we are taking care of our kids' well-being is very important. We're delivering services to as many students as we can, and in the best way that we know how. We're documenting all of our efforts, and we're putting in a good faith to provide services. It's not going to be perfect, but it isn't perfect when we are in school. So we are just doing the best we can. We're collaborating with building administrators, with each other. Sarah and myself are participating in webinars, 2 or 3 webinars a day, put out by the department or the Council for Exceptional Children, and we are updating our staff as we receive updates. They've done a tremendous job. It's been a challenge, and we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So I just really want to thank all of the special ed staff. I mean, it's a lot of work, and we're hanging on. So, any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Alicia. Keep hanging on.
You're welcome.
And I would ask Angela if she has anything that she would like to add.
I just want to thank publicly to the team that I get to work with. These leaders have just been incredible. The amount of collaboration and communication and support and respect they have for their teachers and their staff and their families is incredible. And I feel really blessed to be part of that. I am really curious about how this is going to be received over the next couple of weeks with our communities, and I trust and know that our leadership will continue to listen to our families and our students and make adjustments accordingly. And I'll just put a little note out there. Chad was sharing that this remote learning could work for snow days. And interestingly enough, we're also learning it's working for some of our students who are not currently even residing in our communities, but want to stay connected. They need to be with different family members and wanted to stay connected with their Gardner community and their learning in MSAD 11. And I just think that's tremendous that we're able to support them no matter where they needed to transition to during this time. So thank you, and thank the board for the support that you've offered this evening. I don't think I have anything else to add.
An unintended blessing. That's really great. Nice. Thanks, Angela. Next.
So that's all we have for presentations. I will also add just my kudos to the entire administrative team. It's been just a pleasure to work with all of them in trying to put together these plans in such short time frame. And they're doing so in such a thoughtful way. And they're working very collaboratively with their staff. It's just amazing. So while I know we have a remarkable staff, teaching staff, ed tech staff in the district, but we have a remarkable administrative team. And I publicly really want to thank all of them for all of their work as well. But that is the remote learning plan. That's what we are proposing. And so we do need for the school board this evening to vote to accept our plan or not as we're proposing it. So I would kind of open it up for the board to ask any follow-up questions, or if there is a motion to approve the board as laid out, or approve the plan as laid out by the administrative team.
I make a motion, we approve the plans laid out by the administrative team for remote learning.
I'll second that.
Motion by Veronica and second by Nancy. And I will read John LaPerriere's comment. We couldn't do it without your support. So and I would concur with that. I will go through the roll. So we have a motion and a second by Veronica and Nancy. Becky Fluss, yay. Veronica?
Yay.
Nancy?
Yay.
Linda?
Yay.
Jim?
Yay.
Matthew Marshall?
Yay.
Patrick Saucier?
Yay.
Alyssa Tracy?
Yay.
John Umland?
Yay.
Tony Veet?
Yay.
Kirsten Weed?
Yay.
And Q?
Yay.
Great, motion carries. Thank you. Next, Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Sure. Before we move into that, I just wanted to make sure that the board is aware that in addition to the SAT not being offered in April, the MEA or the Empower state assessment will not be offered either. So students in grades 6 through 8 will not be taking that assessment this spring, nor will they be taking the science assessment for grades 3, 5, and 8. I think those are the correct grades, right? Close.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And one other thing, the conversation came up a couple times regarding April vacation, and I just wanted to be really clear with the board that the reason that we're not planning on April vacation one, it's already built into the calendar, so you would need to modify the calendar if we were to provide instruction during vacation. But you have a contractual obligation to our staff. They're only allowed to work per contract so many days. And so we need to make sure that we don't put them in a position where we're asking them to work beyond those days. And if we are, then you would be obligated to pay beyond those days. And given all of the work that administrators just laid out that our staff are doing, they need that break. But you will hear that there are some school districts that are choosing to remain in session with their distance learning through April break. And so I just wanted to make sure that you understood why we're really pursuing continuing to maintain the April vacation as it currently exists on the calendar.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving forward into my next item, Families First, just wanted to let you know that the federal government has approved this Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and it goes into effect today. And I just wanted to make sure, in a very big picture way, that we share with you how that impacts our school district. And so what the law now allows is that staff members are going to be paid or may be paid 2 weeks of paid sick time outside of any contractual obligation that you have if they are subject to be quarantined or isolated, they have exhibited symptoms, they're caring for an individual who is subject to being quarantined, they're caring for a child whose school or daycare is closed, or they have some other substantial similar health condition. So I wanted you to know this, that by law, if we have a person who meets those requirements, as a school district, we must pay that for them to have 2 paid weeks off without accessing the allowable sick days, personal days, or vacation days allowed by their specific contract. So wanted you to know that. And as a part of that, they've also expanded family medical leave, so that family medical leave can now also cover an individual whose child is not in school or a daycare has closed. So if they have to stay home to take care of their child, they're now eligible for family medical leave. So that is definitely a broadening of what has been allowed in the past, and we wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Andrea, is there anything you can add?
The very thing we talked about.
I do. Unlike the regular Family Medical Leave Act, which is an unpaid leave with paid medical benefits, the expansion family medical leave is actually a paid leave. The first 10 days are unpaid, but then the remainder is, I believe it's at 2/3 of the employee's salary. So up to $200 per day. So that is paid by the district, and like I said, unlike the regular FEMLA leave, this leave is paid.
So because that's new, we wanted to make sure that you were aware that it is now an obligation of the districts to pay for those individuals should they qualify. Any questions on that? All right, then the next section that I have is just an update on the distribution of meals to families. As of yesterday, we now have 680 students signed up for meals. So for our food service staff, that's equivalent to them making 6,800 meals per week. It's pretty phenomenal. The last time we met, I shared with you that we would only receive reimbursement from the federal government for the meals that were actually delivered in Gardner, that the free and reduced minimum of 50% comes into play here, and that the federal government would only reimburse us money if we were actually distributing to families from Gardner and or Randolph. We had chosen to deliver food to West Gardner and to Pittston as well. We felt that that was the right thing to do, but there was a risk that we were not going to receive reimbursement. We just heard yesterday that there's been a waiver by the feds, and so we will now receive full reimbursement for all of the meals, regardless of where they're being delivered to families. So that is fantastic news. We're really excited about that. Now, the one thing that we're still waiting to hear more on is during April vacation. Because students are not in session, the feds currently have not agreed to reimburse us the cost for food that we distribute during April vacation because we're not going to have instruction that week. We have heard that there is a possibility of the waiver, so I'm hopeful. And if not, there is something called Full Plates Emergency Fund that we're exploring. So we may be able to access some money there. And we have had some very generous community members step forward, and they've offered to help reimburse the costs that we might incur. So that is great news. The one thing, though, that I do want to talk to you about is because we are offering food to families the week of April vacation, Monday is a holiday. It is Patriots Day. And so normally our food service staff and our other hourly staff who are helping distribute normally do not work that day. So it is not a day that constitutes compensation for a holiday in their contract. But because they're going to work, I am requesting that we pay them for that holiday and pay them for their regular time worked, which is what we normally do for our custodians and others when they have to work on a holiday. So I'm just wondering if you would consider that. They're putting in so many hours. I feel like it's just a small little way of recognizing them for their work. It would just be for our food service staff and for any of the hourly staff who are helping distribute and prepare those meals on Monday, April 20th.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second the motion by Jim.
I don't think we could thank them enough. If we didn't pay them, it would be outrageous. So they're great.
They are awesome.
It would be outrageous not to pay them, absolutely. Okay, so we have a motion by Alyssa.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me. Very low. My white bar went away again.
Sorry, Becky is having an audio problem again.
So sorry, everyone. My little white bar disappears and then I can't find it. Okay, so we have a motion from Melissa and a second from Jim. Questions or comments? All right, then we'll do the roll call again. Becky Fless, yes. Veronica?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Matthew? Matthew Marshall?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
John Umland?
Yes.
Tony Veet?
Yes.
Kirsten Weed?
Yes.
Quentin Martin?
Yes.
Thought maybe you fell asleep.
Thank you all. I
Motion
appreciate
carries.
that. All right, the next is an update on the status of the 2021 proposed budget, and I will turn that over to Andrea.
Hi there. So earlier today, I sent everyone an email, both administrators and the board, the updated budget. We had wonderful news yesterday. The district received word from Anthem that our rate increase came in at 0%. So as a result, we were able to save a little bit more than 200,000. So that was great news. In addition, last week or this week, Gabe let us know that one of the roofing projects, or actually the roofing project that was in the budget, came in $30,000 less. So we've been able to take a few adjustments to the budget. We're trying to keep the work going. So as you can see by the documents that I sent out, the budget is currently up 3.2% or $822,060 and change. On the other side of that document, you also have a requested budget worksheet that shows the proposed overall increase to the 4 communities. The overall increase of 10.5% or 987,000 and change. So that's where we currently are. We are continuing to work on the budget. We have some other ideas. I don't know, Pat, if you want me to get into it, or do you want to?
Sure. I mean, we are looking at some additional capital improvement items, and Andrea has been looking very closely at this year's budget. Because we are out of session, there are some savings. And so she is looking at whether it is possible to cover some of the items that we built into next year's budget out of this year's budget.
So we've identified the roofing project, and Gabe has a couple of flooring projects. I believe, I am confident that we will be able to absorb them in this year's budget within their expenditure articles. But I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware and they were fine with that. So what we'll do is we'll move the projects to be completed before June 30th and pay for them out of this year's budget and delete them from next year's budget. Also, we've been in conversation with administrators because of the savings from things like spring sports, not knowing whether they will continue, whether or not perhaps there are things that we're going to purchase next year that could be purchased this year, and as a result have them deleted from next year's budget to get us into a better place as far as what we pass along to taxpayers.
Thank you. Administrators still need to spend some time together. We clearly, I mean, you heard the first portion here with the remote learning plans. They've all been very busy, so we have not had time to sit down, reflect, and get back to the budget work. But we continue to update each other every week. And hopefully we will be in a position very shortly where we can sit down again and really tackle this budget and be prepared to put forth a budget that we feel will meet the needs of the school district and also be hopefully acceptable to our taxpayers. Okay. Any questions on the budget and what Andrea presented? Okay, then the final thing that I really have is just a couple items. I just wanted to make sure, since we're all together, that you are aware there's still a lot of chatter out there about school not returning for the rest of this school year. And folks are really beginning to shift the terminology that's being used. They're no longer saying that school is closed, because we're not closed. The physical buildings are closed, but we are providing instruction through different means. And so I don't yet know what's going to happen. I updated the community, as you know, yesterday, informing everyone that as of right now, the school will resume in the buildings as of May 4th. But I just felt that you should know that I'm hearing more and more that most likely, or there's a high likelihood that may not happen. And so as we think about our remote and distance learning plan, we need to be prepared to carry that forward through the rest of the school year potentially. So I will keep you updated. Certainly if that happens, we have a lot of questions that we have to tackle, such as graduation, right? What does that look like? What does that mean for our seniors? And so we'll do that. There's also concern that there will be a second wave of this in the fall. And so if that happens, again, what does school look like for the start of this next school year? So no answers at this time at all, but really wanted to make sure that you are aware that this is an ever-evolving situation. I mean, you know that, and we'll just keep doing the best we can to provide supports to our students and to our families. And as soon as I have any additional information, I will continue to pass that along to each and every one of you. And that's all that I have.
There was one question from, whoops, hang on. Nancy, for your Brown had a question?
Could we take advantage of this time to send home free and reduced paperwork? I don't know. That's really a question for Linda. I'm not sure if it makes sense or not to do that at this time. I don't know. Andrea, do you have a thought?
Since we're feeding all students, I'm not quite sure what the plan would be. Students are allowed to pick up bag lunches, whether or not they qualify. There's no roster or anything, so I'm not quite sure what the incentive would be for them to complete free and reduced applications. But it's a good thought, Nancy.
Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, then that completes our work for the evening, and we need a motion to end.
Nope, not quite yet. We added at the end
the public comments.
comment to respond to any public questions received during this meeting. And the board did receive one email.
Oh.
Okay, so I will read that email. And it says, from a parent watching the meeting on YouTube tonight, while I think that the teachers have done a nice job for Helen Thompson, the articulated experience by Veronica does not ring true. With 2/3 of my kids in elementary school, I have to convey that our experience has not been as has been identified, and it is challenging to sit in the audience and hear information shared that is not accurate. If reaching out includes a post on Class Dojo or an email or Google Class post, fine. But that isn't really what was conveyed. I think the teachers have done a good job, but the information shared seems far from accurate. I'm not sure if any administrator wants to respond to that. I think really feeling like the elementary staff, maybe this is more Helen Thompson, from what I understand, really hasn't felt that they really haven't been reached out by, from staff to parents. So I can't speak to it, and maybe it's not appropriate to speak to it right now. I'm not sure I want to put someone on the spot, but I can share this information with Katie, and this email with Katie, and you can always follow up with that parent, and speak to this parent and address her concerns.
Pat,
Pat?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Angela.
you're the principal. You go first.
I just wanted to say that it has been a challenge to get in touch with all families, and some teachers have been reporting to me that the feeling is that families are overwhelmed. So we are reaching out, as I know is happening in other buildings, through Google Meet, email, Dojo, Seesaw, telephone call. And so if your teacher or a staff member reaches out, I would encourage families to just communicate the best way to get in touch with you. We don't want to put more on families' plates, but I think that would be really important and valued information for families to just communicate with the teacher or the staff member. With me, certainly, we want to be as supportive and accommodating as possible at this time.
I'll just also add, because I spent a great deal of time last week calling families for a different matter, that if someone's working from home, they are likely to call a home and have it be a blocked number. It'll display as a blocked number because they we've encouraged them to either use a Google Meet phone number or we want to secure our teachers' privacy, so we're not giving out their home phone numbers. So if no one's answering a blocked number, then we're not having that level of engagement and communication. But if a family would like a phone call, we would be happy to either help or encourage an email communication to set up a time so that if that call is coming into your home, you know who it's from.
And Katie, I have forwarded that email to you so that you will have an opportunity to reach out to that parent. Okay.
Hey, this is Matt. Real quick, as a parent of a third grader at Riverview, they have done a remarkable job, as Vicki pointed out earlier, with the remote learning. My son was so engaged yesterday. Mrs. Story did a remarkable job. Vicki chimed in, which was interesting as well. So I just want to put the kudos out there that I think that Riverview is doing a super job, and I'm sure most of the other elementary schools are following suit. So this might just be an instance where it's just one specific opinion, and everybody has one, right?
Thank you, Matt. I'd also like to clarify too, so at the elementary level, we're not doing new learning. So teachers are not doing live lessons like they're starting to see at the high school. We're doing continued learning with information that's already been taught in the classroom, and the packets are meant to be done so the students should be able to do most of the work on their own, and then teachers are reaching out for support. So I just wanted to clarify that there might be some confusion, that parents might be expecting teachers to do new lessons, and that's not what we're doing with the learning packets. They're meant to be students being able to do the work mostly on their own with some support, and there's different levels, and the teachers are there to help those kiddos when they have questions. So I just wanted to clarify that piece of it as well.
More of a reinforcement.
Correct.
And Becky, there was one additional email that the board received, and this person was asking if the district is going to be hiring more ed techs this school year. And the answer at this time would probably be no.
All right.
Okay.
Is there, Pat Saucier, hang on just a second, Pat. Is there some list being kept of what issues are going through areas of improvement so we can better this process for the future?
I'd like to take that one a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, on the elementary end, just because I kind of alluded to it when I was giving our report, that after the first week, 2 weeks of packets, teachers kind of polled their classrooms and their parents to see if those first 2 weeks were appropriate. Was the pace appropriate? Was it too much? Was it, all of that? And so based on that feedback, these next 2 weeks that are going out are based on the feedback that we received from parents and students that responded to those questions. So there has been, at least on the elementary level, we're taking notes, we're trying to adjust as we go. Again, those first 2 weeks were put together in 48 hours. So again, the teachers did a phenomenal job in the short period of time they had, and without, again, without a blueprint. This is brand new for everybody.
Oh, that's the thing is at the fire station we've got a slew of things that we need to change just with our response. So I didn't know if the school system as a whole is keeping track of that. I will say with 2 kids going to Helen Thompson, 48 hours is not a long time getting a curriculum together. So we can come pick up a packet. So I am impressed, and I can only speak for Helen Thompson because that's my experience. So I'm just a question thrown out there.
A good question. And I'm sure that we're gathering information, and if I know our staff and our superintendent, we're only gonna want to get better and better at this. So I'm certain that everyone's taking notes to make it more smooth as we go. Matthew Marshall, capturing lessons learned. Absolutely. Yes, I'm certain that we're doing that. So thank you, Patrick, and thanks, Matt. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Then the only other thing that I'll add is next, there are 2 executive sessions for the board, and I want the public to know that no action will be taken at the conclusion of either of those executive sessions. Okay?
So with that said, I will thank Greg for live streaming us tonight. And I will say thank you to all of our administrators, a huge, huge thank you for all of your endless, endless hours of hard work. Yes, Veronica, nicely done. Everyone, let's give them a round of applause virtually because they have worked so hard to make sure that our students are put first and that there's structure, albeit maybe a little bit lonely. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for all of your hard work and lessons learned, and we will continue to go forward and see what comes next. So thank you to the public for tuning in. Thank you for the questions that we received through email, and we'll look forward to being together again soon. I'll dismiss, just like I do, I'll dismiss the administrators, and I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session